And if you're like me, and I think you are obsessed with what's new in the world of RV travel, especially all the new rigs out there. And yes, I covet one that looks a little bit like this. I'll let him do most of the describing, but from Intech, I have Keith Fishburne on the line. We're going to take a tour of the Soul Dawn. And Keith, welcome to the program. I'm glad you could join me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you having me on.
I am intrigued. And to tell you the truth, I got this lead from our good friends at rvtravel.com. And by the way, if you're listening and you want a full review, there is one right there at rvtravel.com. But in the meanwhile, the Soul Dawn strikes me as, just driving down the road, it strikes me as a cross between the coolest version of the Lucy and Ricky long trailer and some whiz-bang new stuff as well. So, Keith, you're standing right there. Why don't you describe the exterior to us?
Well, the whole Soul lineup comes with a lot of style. You know, you're so used to seeing campers that are fairly boxy, fairly square in their overall design. But the Soul features this, what we call a tilt-forward design. So what's happening is the front cap of this unit is actually angling forward, and then the roof has a nice sweeping line to it that curves all the way to the back bumper. So a very flowing look to the unit, and a very unique front windshield on it as well that grabs a lot of attention.
You know, I just got to break in here because I just figured out what it is. I spent a little bit of time down in Palm Springs a couple years ago, and one of the things we did down there was we did the tour of all the mid-century modern homes.
Uh-huh.
Somebody stole those ideas and put them on the Soul Dawn.
You can say that. It does have a very similar feel and look to that, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I mean, whether you wanted to or not, you're gonna attract a lot of attention from the baby boomers just for that.
Yes, it does. It's got a neat look to it. It really draws a lot of attention for its style.
Well, tell me more about the exterior before we walk inside.
Well, sure. So one thing that's really neat about an Intech is you almost have to peel back the skin because obviously you have a neat look that's a different design. But when you start peeling back, the layers on an Intech, you figure out what makes it different. So it features a full aluminum skeleton cage, and that's all welded to an aluminum chassis. And what's so cool about that is it gives you almost this unibody style structure to the unit. Because an RV takes a lot of abuse going down the road. You know, you're hitting potholes, bouncing all the way down, and you pretty much have this finished house on the inside. So by having a unit where you have this unibody solid welded together structure, you know, your cabinets and your bathroom walls and things that are all connected to the exterior, they're not moving independently. And I guess to kind of give a little background, what makes that so different is most RVs, they'll have a base frame, but then you'll just have some walls that are pretty much screwed or stapled down to the frame, and then they'll kind of be screwed and stapled to each other, you know, the side walls and the ceiling. And so all those pieces are fighting against each other all the time. So the construction of an Intech, you know, really sets it apart. And then when you go to the outside of it, you're going to have a full, nice fiberglass finish. I was telling you, you've got that big front windshield on it, which is actually car glass. That is a 3-ply laminated piece of glass on the front of the unit. So a lot of exterior style and good design to that as well.
The color I'm looking at right now, I would call white. And if you listen regularly, you'll find out very soon I'm a little colorblind, but I'm going to call it white. But does it come in any other colors?
You know, the exterior color overall is all white. And then you have some decal striping that you can do different colors on. So you get blue stripes or red, different pin striping basically happening there.
So you could match your car or your tow vehicle if you really worked at it.
Yes, you could. You can make it all work.
You know, I haven't used the term, and I promise not to use it again, but there's a bit of a streamlined feel to it, especially that front end. I see no propane tanks.
There isn't. So part of the design, you know, we look at the tanks and say, well, that's not all that pretty.
Yeah.
So what we've done is there's this front cap that we have designed. The propane tanks actually slide right into it. And then we have a little cover that goes over the front of that seals those things off. So very easy to access, but you're also not looking at them sitting on the front of the camper.
A clean line, almost, I'm dating myself, almost a Jetson feel to the
Yes,
exterior.
yes.
All
We
right.
do get sometimes too.
So pull out your key and let's open the door and walk inside.
So when you come inside the Dawn, immediately you notice a lot of floor space, a lot of space for a camper this size. This thing's only 16 foot long. It only weighs in at about 2,700 pounds, so it's towable by most vehicles. But you just have a lot of space, and a lot of that is credited to all the windows you have around you. It gives you a very open feel. And then that, as we talked earlier, that front end of this unit angling forward as opposed to coming straight up or that front wall angling back. So the majority of this camper is a dinette. It is a large dinette area. You can seat up to 6 people very comfortably in it. And then the dinette kind of does a double duty. It's going to turn into your bed space. So you're going to be able to drop in a filler cushion. One thing that's always a frustrating point for people sometimes when you do a bed that converts to a dinette is, you've slept all night. Now you get up in the morning, you're ready to make breakfast, and you got to tear down your bed. So what we did in this space is we set it into 2 separate sections. You have a single filler cushion that drops in. Now you have a bed area at the very front of the camper, but you still maintain 2 seats back further towards the kitchen area where you still can keep the table up.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the problem that solves for me on a hunting trip.
Yes, yeah, that was a big point. You try and see what people are really complaining about when they're using stuff, and that can give you a lot of ideas as far as how to design your next product.
Well, speaking of design alone, I mean, I'm just looking at this thing, and it looks like some of the home makeover shows. I'm just looking at fixed finishes and, like you said, the light from so many windows. What's the motivation there? Is there some strategy?
Well, you're camping. You really want to be connected to the outdoors. That's why you see us focus so much attention on glass and open space inside the unit. We could put more vertical cabinetry, more storage in places inside this thing, but we wanted to have kind of an open, more modern feel to the camper, and that really drives the design when we decide what we're placing in it and where the window placements and the sizing of all that's going to be, is to have a very open feel to it.
So does that mean that what storage there is what I'll say is below eye level?
We try to maximize up top and then down kind of below the waistline on the storage. So if you look around the top of this trailer, you'll see cubbies and overhead cabinets everywhere you look. Because it is a small camper, so you do have to maximize your spaces that you have as far as storing items. And then, like you mentioned down below, you're going to have storage underneath your dinette. You're going to have a pantry storage kind of below your TV, and your kitchen's going to be packed full of storage as well.
Yeah, and I know somebody who will appreciate that quite a bit. The kitchen is compact. It's a small trailer. The first one I had was about the same size, and I survived, lived to tell about it. But there's an art to making a kitchen that actually is functional when it's at the back quarter of a trailer like that, isn't there?
Oh, there really is. The tighter the space gets, the more intricate the design has to be to make sure that you're accomplishing, you've got a space that people can work with. So, obviously in RV, it's common to have these cooktops that have a glass cover to them. So it kind of adds more cooking surface, or working surface, I should say, to the countertop. We also use a really neat big farmhouse sink, and it's kind of got a dual purpose. It's nice because it's big enough you can actually get pots and pans, big things in that sink and use it. But then it comes with a stainless steel grate that covers it. So now if you use that stainless steel grate and you have your cooktop cover down, you have one large, countertop space to work on. So you're always trying to find different ways to maybe double use the same space. And that's what we've done in the kitchen area.
I had a rig once that was designed by a shipbuilder, and the same kind of thinking, it sounds like, has come to the fore with you guys to try and be efficient in any way possible.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. You got to be efficient with every little square inch you use inside a unit this size to make sure it's something that you can go out for a weekend and not feel cramped, and make sure you feel like you've got good usable space.
Now, I don't know that I've ever had any luck with a trailer this size with a bathroom in it, but you guys have kind of taken on the challenge there. Why don't you describe how that works?
It is, because you look at a lot of small campers, and boy, I'm 6'2", and I can't even get inside those bathrooms or fit in them, even if it's an emergency situation practically. So this one, we put the same bathroom in all of our Soul models, and oh boy, here I'm gonna quote this size, and I think I have it right. You've got a 29-inch by 44-inch tray inside it, so it's got good space all around it. The Dawn is a little tighter on head height because we are in the back corner of the trailer, so you get about 5 feet 9 inches of head height. But the real key is you've got room to move around. Your shoulders fit inside this area. You've got room in front of your knees between the toilet and the wall. So it's, for a wet bath, it's very usable. It's not just a check mark or a checkbox item, I should say, on the trailer. Like, yep, it's got one. No, this is one that you can really use.
The kitchen has some other features, including the refrigerator, that is a little bit more novel than some. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you're keeping stuff cold there?
Yeah, so in this line, we put a three-way refrigerator, so it can run off of your propane, it can run off of 12-volt or 120-volt power. So you got multiple options depending on what power sources you have available for it. We also do something kind of nice. We elevate. We try to get all of our fridges, 1.5 feet, 2 feet up off the ground, because this is a 3.7 cubic foot fridge, so you don't have, it's not a full height deal. But now when you open the door, it's nice and it's right there at eye level. What's also a cool feature it has is it has a freezer section in it, but you can actually remove the freezer section out of it and expand the size of the refrigeration space. So it gives you kind of some neat features inside a smaller fridge there.
Well, if you were to leave us with one final descriptor for the Intech Soul Dawn at just 16 feet, what would you tell us?
I would say it is just one of the coolest little unique, versatile trailers you're going to find on the market. But one thing that Intech that just drives us pretty much in everything we do is quality. And when you look around the camper and you see the way it's designed and built, you can tell it was thought out, and it's a very, very high-end fit and finish and quality build.
There you have it. And George Jetson could pilot that thing behind his flying car at any point in time.
It'll work just fine for him.
Keith Fishburne at Intech. They're the makers of the entire Soul line. The Soul Dawn is probably the shortest of the bunch, and just a cool looking trailer. Thanks so much for being a part of the RV Travel Podcast.
Nice, guy. Appreciate you having me on.